Competition! My name is Melanson. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Biology and the winner of last year's 3MT competition. It turned out to be quite a journey, and I will share more about that later this evening. Tonight, though, is not about me. It is about our 8 new student researchers who have poured out their hearts and souls and minds into their research projects, and they will have the opportunity to tell you all about them in just 3 minutes. It's no easy task to make the complex simple, to make the lengthy brief, and to make the vision explicit. Right now, our contenders are backstage going through their presentations out loud or in their minds, visualizing success and grappling with their nerves. They all come from very different fields of study, but share 2 things in common. 1, curiosity, and 2, commitment. An insatiable curiosity to know that which is unknown, and a commitment to make the world around them a better place through their research. Now, prepare your minds for new ideas, presented by these enthusiastic young minds. 3MT is about to begin.
That was pretty terrific. So I am Chris Yost, and I am your MC tonight. So I am the Vice President of Research at the University of Regina. I'm excited to be able to join you tonight, to see all the people out here excited for this event, which I feel is one of our signature events we have at the University of Regina. And so thank you for coming, thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm going to begin with the recognition and the honor that we're able to share this night with you in such a beautiful building that is on very beautiful lands and very important lands. These are the Treaty 4 lands, the homelands of the Naheawak, Anishapek, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota peoples, and the Métis Michif Nation. And as an institution, the University of Regina, founded by settlers, we benefit from being on this land. We are grateful for the privilege to learn, teach, and work here. To be able to be here tonight and then all of us to learn together in this environment is wonderful. As we gather, I ask you tonight to think about how we can commit to reconciliation and strengthen relationships with Indigenous communities to build a more inclusive future. So I'd like to start, so I'll start with just a couple of acknowledgements and thank yous for how this event comes together. So this is the Graduate Students Association and their executive help in sponsoring the 3MT event. We have UOR Press here who will be presenting some gifts to our winners at the end of the evening. My office also helps sponsor this event, and of course, University Advancement and Communications are also sponsors of the reception. This could not happen, though, without all of the great work and efforts of the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research. And so we'll offer applause to them once we've completed the evening. Now I would like to ask our President, President Keshen, to step to the podium here to offer a few greetings. So, Mr. President Keshen.
Thanks for the introduction, Chris. Really appreciate it. And for everything that you do to facilitate and promote student and faculty research at our university. I want to begin by echoing Chris's acknowledgement that the University of Regina, with its 3 federated colleges, the First Nations University of Canada, Campion College, and Luther College, are situated on Treaty 4 territory. And among our 3-minute thesis competition participants is social work, and social work and nursing also has a presence in Treaty 6 in Saskatoon. I am truly delighted to be here in beautiful and historic Dark Hall to help celebrate the University of Regina's 3-minute thesis finals, the 50th anniversary edition. I'm not sure we've done it for 50 years, but that's what my notes say. And celebrate is indeed the appropriate word for why we are here this evening. Of course, we are here to watch a competition. And by the end of this evening, there will be a 3-minute thesis winner, the graduate student who is judged to have best distilled and communicated their research into an accessible and compelling 3-minute presentation. It's tough, actually, it really is. The student will then go on to represent the University of Regina at the Western Regional Competition. This thing's bugging me this evening. And perhaps we move on to the national finals or even beyond. That's exactly what Michael Mensa did this past year when he won the Western Regionals and the national competition before representing the University of Regina and Canada at the North American Championship that was held this past year in St. Louis, Missouri. Michael's research and his freshwater for salty cows presentation should be an inspiration for everyone here, competitors and non-competitors alike. Michael showed how the University of Regina and its students can compete with the best of the best on an international stage. That was something that was extra special. Michael's presentation was something extra special for us to celebrate in what has already been a tremendous 50th anniversary year for the University of Regina. As we continue to celebrate our 50th anniversary, we've had the opportunity to reflect about how far we have come as an institution. Over the past 5 decades, the University of Regina has grown into a leading research university, recognized for its contributions in many areas: health and environmental science, artificial intelligence, social justice, engineering, the arts, many, many other areas. But research is not just about expanding knowledge. It's about transforming lives. It's about shaping industries. It's about strengthening our communities. At the University of Regina, we are committed to ensuring that our research extends beyond the walls of academia. Our faculty and our students are working on projects that have real-world applications, from influencing public policies you'll hear tonight, to improving healthcare, to driving business innovation, to tackling the thorny problem of environmental sustainability. Events like the 3MT help bring this research to the broader community, fostering connections between academia, industry, and the public. Tonight's competition, it is a perfect example of that mission in action, showcasing how research at the University of Regina is making a difference locally and nationally and even internationally. The 3M competition, well, it embodies the very essence of the university's commitment to academic excellence, to research excellence, to community engagement. What makes this competition so very unique, it is not just about presenting research. It's about mastering the art of storytelling, making research accessible, and engaging people outside of one's own field of expertise. And that's tough to knowledge transfer outside your area of expertise. And in just 3 minutes, our finalists are going to distill what in many cases are years of research into a single and compelling narrative, providing knowledge and communicated effectively. It shows that it has the power to inspire, to educate, and to spark new ideas. I hope that tonight's event ignites excitement and conversation really about the groundbreaking research happening here right at the University of Regina. To our finalists, congratulations on reaching this stage of the competition. You have already demonstrated incredible dedication, skill, and passion, and no matter what happens tonight, you should all be immensely proud of what you have accomplished. The ability to communicate research with clarity and with enthusiasm is a valuable skill that will always serve you well, whether it's in academia, whether it's in industry, whether in government, or any endeavor throughout your life. I encourage you to embrace this academic platform, not only to showcase your research, but also to share your knowledge, to inspire others, and make a lasting impact. Finally, like Chris said, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our judges, to our faculty, to everyone who's played a part in the role in supporting these students on their journey. And to our audience, thank you for being here to support our graduate students. I know that you're going to enjoy this evening of innovation and discovery, and it will indeed be inspiring. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, President Kesher. Now I'm going to ask our Dean of Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research, Dean Elise, to come and share a few words. Without the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research, of course, we wouldn't have graduate students who are able to thrive here. So, Aziz, please join me.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Tonight we're here to celebrate the exceptional research, talent, and success of our graduate students at the 3 Minute Thesis finale. The idea for the 3MT came about at a time when the state of Queensland, Australia was suffering severe drought. To conserve water, residents were encouraged to time their showers, and many people had a 3-minute egg timer fixed to the wall in their bathroom. The then Dean of the Graduate School, Emeritus Professor Melanson, put 2 and 2 together, and the idea of the 3MT competition was born. The first 3MT competition was held at the University of Queensland in 2008, and the rest is history, as they say. For us, the 3MT event highlights not only the power of research, it highlights more importantly the many ways in which our graduate students here at the University of Regina contribute not only to the university, but also to our community, our province, and the world. Graduate students embody not just the hope, but the pursuit of knowledge through learning and discovery as researchers, innovators, and leaders shaping the future in extraordinary ways. And of course, research isn't just about discovery. It's about communication, the ability to take complex ideas and convey them in an accessible manner, in a clear, engaging, and accessible ways. And this is a skill that will serve them well beyond their graduate careers. At FGSR, we take great pride in supporting graduate students, whether they are doing research or whether they are doing their professional studies. Through funding opportunities, professional development, and events like the 3MT, we are committed to helping these students develop skills, confidence, and effectively communicate their learnings and research and demonstrate its impact to the wider society. I want to take a few moments to acknowledge the time, effort, and dedication that each of our competitors and participants has put into preparing for tonight's event. A few words of acknowledgement and gratitude are also in order. Tonight's celebration would not be possible without the support of many individuals and organizations. And I would like specifically to extend my sincere gratitude to the 3MT Advisory Committee, the faculty mentors, our judges, and our sponsors, including the Graduate Students Association, UR Press, and the Vice President Research Office for their hard work, expertise, mentorship, and generous contributions. Of course, my thanks are to my colleague, Dr. Chris Yost, our Vice President of Research, for emceeing tonight's event. He is a strong advocate for graduate students and graduate research dissemination overall. And to all of you, our audience, thank you so much for coming here to support our graduate students. In closing, we are all honored to hear from our talented graduate students as they present their research projects that address some of the most pressing challenges of our time. So let's take this opportunity to learn from and celebrate their remarkable achievements. Thank you, and I look forward to an exciting evening of research and discovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. So now you've heard that there's judges to this. This is a competition, and we rely on the skills of our judges, and we select a panel. We start out early in the year and ask our judges, and so we walk them down in a date, and then we ask them to come and join us and basically evaluate our students. So our judges are selected. They work in different sectors within Regina, and they have an array of experience and expertise. This means that tonight's competitors must do an excellent job of explaining their research in a way to people that aren't experts in their specific fields, and that they can therefore get excited about and go home and tell people, their friends, their colleagues about the exciting and innovative research that is happening on the U of R campus. So I would like to introduce the judges now, and they are. So I'll start with Canaris Paraskevopoulos. Again, I try hard. Is the Executive Vice President and Chief Digital and Information Officer at SGI, a role he has held since April 2022. In his capacity, he spearheads the company's technology and data streams as part of SGI's ambitious transformation initiative. His responsibilities encompass the implementation of new systems and processes alongside developing a robust data governance strategy aimed at positioning SGI as a leader, digital insurer. Canaris holds a bachelor's degree in electronic systems engineering with a minor in computer science from the University of Regina, and is also an active member in Saskatchewan's tech community, assisting local entrepreneurs and business strategy development. Please help me in welcoming Canaris. Our next judge, Cadmus Delorme, is Cree and Saulteaux descent from Cowessess First Nation. Cadmus was chief for Cowessess First Nation from 2016 to 2013. During this time, he focused on three pillars: cultural rejuvenation, political sovereignty, and economic self-sustainability. In 2023, Cadmus founded One Hoop Advisory Services and Flowing River Capital Group, along with 3 other University of Regina alumni. I'm very, very proud to say Cadmus is currently serving as the board chair for the University of Regina. He lives on Cowessess and in Regina with his wife Kimberly and their 2 sons and daughter. Please join me in thanking him. Sandy Baumgartner is a graduate of the University of Regina Faculty of Business Administration. She is a passionate visionary leader who provides a common-sense approach to managing people with creative, solution-oriented approaches to organizational effectiveness. Sandy joined the Saskatchewan Science Centre as CEO in 2008, and working with a highly creative team, they have introduced countless innovative initiatives, including creation of their first traveling exhibition, Joyland, in 2019, which included Girls in STEAM conference that reaches more than 2,200 participants across the province, and growth in an active outreach program that reaches close to 30,000 youth in rural and northern communities in Saskatchewan each year. Prior to joining the Saskatchewan Science Centre, Sandy spent 18 years as the Executive Director of Programs and Communications with the Canadian Wildlife Federation in Ottawa. Please help me in welcoming Sandy. Ran Narayansamy is President and CEO of PTRC, Sustainable Energy, where he leads the strategic development and implementation of carbon capture, utilization, and storage, geothermal, blue hydrogen with carbon capture storage research, and compressed air energy storage initiatives. He has a Master of Engineering, a Master of Business Administration, and a Master's Certificate in Project Management from Canadian institutions. He is also a registered professional engineer and graduate of the Director's Education Program at Rotman School of Business in the University of Toronto. He received the Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal from the Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan in 2022, the Premier Award for Public Service Excellence in 2019, and was a Canadian Broadcast Corporation Saskatchewan Future 40 finalist. He's passionate about making a positive impact and meaningful change in the world. Please help me in welcoming Rand. Trevor Harriott is a naturalist and the author of several award-winning books, including Grass, Sky, Song, and the national bestseller River in a Dry Land, both of which were shortlisted for the Governor General's Award for Nonfiction. His 8th book, a novel titled The Economy of Sparrows, was awarded the 2024 Glengarry Book Award. He is also a recipient of Kloppenberg Award for Literary Merit and the Saskatchewan Order of Merit. His essays and articles have appeared in the Globe and Mail, the Narwhal, Brick Border Crossings, Canadian Geographic, and several anthologies. Please join me in welcoming Trevor. Colleen Strauch is the director of the non-for-profit and voluntary sector studies network at Luther College at the University of Regina. Her work centers around supporting a thriving not-for-profit volunteer sector through learning, research, and innovation. Colleen has worked and volunteered in the not-for-profit sector both in Regina and internationally, and is enthusiastic about contributing to learning and the growth in our community. In June 2024, Colleen received the CBC Saskatchewan Future 40 Award for bringing success, innovation, accomplishment, and charity to our communities. Please join me in welcoming Colleen. Thank you to all our judges and to our Mark for our timekeeper, keeping our contestants on time, and thank you again for your support to this event. So, now we will move on to the main event, which is what everyone's here anxiously waiting for. A couple of things on how it works. So I will introduce the student and their area of study as they come onto the stage. They have created one slide that will appear behind them during their presentation. As soon as they start their talk, their 3 minutes begin. The judges will evaluate each speaker on very specific criteria across 3 categories: communication, engagement, and comprehension. Presentations provide a clear motivation, background, and significance of the research question. This is one of the things they'll be looking for. They'll be looking for presentations with conclusions, outcomes of impact of the research. They will look to see that it was delivered in a clear fashion with language that was appropriate to a non-specialist audience, and that the presenter conveyed enthusiasm for the research and captured and maintained your attention. And I remind you, there is a People's Choice Award, too. So you have an opportunity to participate in this evaluation as well. At the very end, we will have a winner who will move on to the Western Finals for a chance to go on to the 3MT Nationals. There will be a second and third place finisher as well, and as I mentioned, a People's Choice Award, which will be selected by you. So, the students are backstage now. They've been waiting very patiently for their moment. Now, I hope they've tempered their nerves and are excited, as I am, to hear it from them all. And I can wholeheartedly say, as Vice President of Research at the University of Regina, I am extremely proud of all these individuals. They are doing tremendous things. So, I would first like to welcome to the stage Emily Lightheart from the Biology Department of the Faculty of Science. The topic this evening is bacterial parasites with deadly consequences. Emily, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Did you know that in 2050, there may be an illness that is more severe and more deadly than cancer? In fact, by 2050, many of today's very treatable illnesses will become more deadly than cancer. And this is because of antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance is a phenomenon where formerly treatable bacterial infections become resistant to these treatments, and they end up being more severe and more deadly. One of the main culprits behind this growing global crisis are called plasmids. Plasmids are these little pieces of DNA that are found in bacteria, and they're very easily spread throughout the population. You can think of a plasmid almost like a parasite. It essentially infects the host, taking advantage of its resources and machinery. In exchange, it provides the host with tools that aid in its survival. These tools can include antibiotic resistance, like I mentioned, which allows that bacteria to survive treatment, or toxins, which allow that bacteria to kill off neighboring cells, essentially eliminating the competition. Now, like a parasite, plasmids also have their own life course that is somewhat separate from the host. So, of course, they want the host to survive because that ensures their own survival, but they also want to reach as many hosts as possible. So they're constantly looking for opportunities to find those new hosts. Now, despite how widespread this plasmid transfer is and how important it is for public health, not much is known about what actually causes or triggers this transfer. So essentially, we don't know what causes that parasite to find a new host. And that is what my research aims to address. We hypothesize that there is a system where plasmid transfer increases when the plasmid becomes panicked. In this system, the plasmid is producing a toxin. And as I mentioned, this toxin is killing off those neighboring cells. Now, these neighboring cells are also the potential hosts for that plasmid. So when the plasmid detects that this killing is occurring, it freaks out and it tries to work extra hard to reach those hosts before the toxin kills them. So we predict that as more killing occurs, more plasmid transfer will also occur. This research is very important for understanding the dynamics of bacterial populations, both in the environment and in clinical settings, and it could also provide some insights that could stop or slow down the spread of antibiotic resistance, so that hopefully by 2050, the leading cause of death worldwide won't be antibiotic resistance, but it might be public speaking. Thank you.
So we're going to try something a little different this year. So what we do is we allow the judges to, essentially they're recording some of their notes right now. So they get about 2 minutes or so between each competitor. So while they're doing that, instead of me telling you jokes, which would go off so bad, desperately missing Baily, who usually does this, we've engaged in a so I'm a prof, so I'm like, let's do it, let's get people thinking. So there's the code for Mentimeter. For those of you who have not used this before, log into your browser on your phone. And then this code will lock in. You're going to have questions for each of the talks. So I encourage you, take out your phone, and now you can see like real-time action. So the question is, by 2050, which illness is predicted to cause more deaths than cancer? And as a professor, I am appreciating that you really resonated with this talk. Right? It seems that you're getting the correct answer. So in fact, it is that antibiotic-resistant infections are predicted to be a rising cause of death by 2050. Now, I could have asked more questions, I guess. I'm still dealing with some dead air. But, 54. You know what? I'm thinking now, actually. As I think of this is a very clever way for me to find out how many people are actually living on this. One of the things we've always wondered is at each of these events, and what I'm very excited about is we've done this 3 times at Dark Hall now. This is the 3rd time. And every time, we have more and more people coming. And that really supports our students. The students work so hard to do this. So you coming out here to support them is wonderful. And something I've told all my colleagues at the university is bring a friend from the community with you. Because we want this event to be more than just something that we're celebrating at the university. And so for those of you who come here who brought a friend or you're from the community, please seek me out after. And I'll give you an IOU for socks. I have socks for you. 50th anniversary socks. That you can. This is only eligible for those who are not employed by the University of Regina. If you want a pair of 50th anniversary socks, they are yours to have for coming. Next year, maybe we'll offer something else. And I would encourage you to bring more friends from the community so that we can make this truly a University of Regina and community event. And I'll look tomorrow. The judges ready to go?
Hey, Chris, you feel 3 minutes at dead time. Three minute thesis.
Sweating out here. I'm sweating out here. Okay, are they ready to go? Okay, I got a thumbs up from Mark. Thank you. Okay, next, please welcome Elise Melanson to the stage. Elise studies. Elise studies in the Faculty of Kinesiology and Health Studies. Her topic this evening is physical fitness, a life sentence of self-surveillance. Elise, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Have you ever felt fearful to work out at a gym? As a fitness professional, I have had many conversations with individuals who want to work out but are too scared to go to the gym. The most common reason is that they're scared of being watched or judged for failing to follow the rules of the space. This fear can be explained through a concept called panopticism. The philosopher Foucault used the panopticon prison design to show how individuals self-police their own social behaviors. This design involves cells arranged along peripheral buildings facing a central, overarching tower used for surveillance. The inmates never know if a guard is present or absent, and as a result, they begin to fear the threat of surveillance, even if it's not in continuous action. In other words, they become their own personal guard. Now, gyms are not prisons, but this threat of being watched or judged has turned gym goers into their own personal guard, surveying their behaviors, interactions, and appearances. My research looks at the role of this self-surveillance and its impact on individuals' experiences in gyms. I spent 6 months participating in and observing behaviors in a particular gym. And my findings suggest that women experience increased self-surveillance as a result of the prevalence of men and masculinities. There are unique environmental factors to gyms that increase this threat of surveillance. For example, mirrors line the wall, allowing you to literally watch yourself, your behaviors, interactions, and appearances. Phones are used to capture oneself or others flexing or completing a set of exercises, capturing one's behaviors, interactions, and appearances indefinitely. And women experience one additional reminder: the male gaze. On average, only 18% of those present in a strength-based area were women. And it was incredibly common that they would experience unwanted attention and staring from men. This constant awareness of being watched made women's own personal guard even more vigilant. And on top of that, there's social rules about how to behave, how to interact, and even how to look that were made by and for men. And so when women fail to follow these rules that were never made for them to begin with, it again makes their own personal guard even more vigilant. And this increased vigilance has significant impact on women's comfort levels in gyms. And for some, it makes them avoid the space altogether. And that is why I am developing programming to allow women to enter the space with their guard down, by providing them with the knowledge, resources, and experiences to have an understanding of the rules of the space, but more importantly, the confidence to break them. Thank you.
So this one, rather than a test, I like to do free word association in my classes. So this is more of a free word association to a question. So what would you find would be your fear? So this will develop, as you input in and hit enter, this will develop into a word cloud. And as we'll see it, as they come up, it will be really neat to see how, and they'll scale to the size. So similar words will scale to the same size. So we've got price, okay, scrutiny. Neon is fascinating. Yeah, see, this is what I think. There's one out there about pain and injury. You know how I avoid injury from working out? I don't work out. There's a very strong R-squared correlation to this. If you do not work out, you won't get injured. So, laziness, yeah, that's me. That's my, saying I don't want to get injured, that's my euphemism for lazy. Judgment, so right now we've got judgment. Judgment's leading the way. Judgment's still in the lead, still in the lead, still in the lead. Up ahead is injury. Injury's pulling up fast, pulling up fast. Price is up there. For all of those who own a gym, lower your price. You might get a few more people coming out. Still judgment's lost now with price. Price is up there. Price is the leader. Let's get price in Regina down. Judgment's back up. Judgment's back up. How are we doing here, judges? Judgment, laziness. My fellow people are working with me. You good, Mark? Okay, thank you. Okay, next I would ask, please welcome Brianne Phillips to the stage. Brianne is from the biology department in the Faculty of Science. Her topic this evening is ocean membranes, neural stem cell renewal and differentiation. Brianne, the floor is yours.
You are made of multitudes, trillions of cells all cooperating to make you, you. Each cell contained within a membrane, acting like the vast and dynamic surface of the ocean, keeping the air above separate from the waters beneath. But some exchange does have to happen across this surface. Just like you and I, our cells need oxygen to survive. But when that oxygen does change, they're really limited in their ability to respond. They have an identity, and they must stick to it. Except for stem cells. They can self-replicate as well as turn into other types of cells. My research focuses on neural stem cells. These produce neurons, which process information in your brain. which is great because who wouldn't want a few more brain cells? Lowered oxygen seems to make these neural stem cells commit to being neurons and stop self-replicating. But how can we really determine the identity of these cells? By looking at their cell membrane. Just like the surface of the ocean, the cell membrane can conduct electricity. In the lab, I take a microscopic needle and place it against the cell's surface. By sending electricity through, I can see how the membrane affects the flow through that circuit. This tells me lots about the properties of the membrane and what kind of identity that cell wants to take on. So now what I can do is take a bunch of groups of neural stem cells and put them in the oxygen levels we see in the brain and see what they get up to. So changing oxygen levels in our brain might be a purposeful way that our brain meets certain demands, and it might be a process we see impacted in diseases. In Alzheimer's disease, for example, the main cause of age-related dementia, we see a burst of neurons being produced in the early stage. And that sounds great, except that in the later stages, we don't see more neurons, and we also don't see any stem cells. They simply all got used up being neurons, and they can't go backwards to self-replicate. Now, whether this is because of oxygen, or because of the disease, or both, we frankly don't know. My research seeks to characterize what these cells do in normal oxygen in your brain, in a normal healthy brain, so that we can better relate it to diseases such as Alzheimer's. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. So, back to testing you again. How does low oxygen affect neural stem cells? I'm pausing for dramatic effect. Silence. It's again, we see that looks like people are. So the answer is yes. Number 2 there. It forces them to become neurons. Marcel's not filled in. This is very good to see. Oh, and look at all these things. I haven't used Mentimeter in a long time. I've seen all this thumb for it. Quite good. Still silent, yes, I'm trying to think of it, but so something maybe I'll share with you. I'm a microbiologist, which means I don't study human cells. Mark the chemist is giving me a thumbs down. But, yeah, so I don't really have much to say about neural stem cells. If you want to hear about microbiology, that's a different story. Good? Okay, thank you everyone. Okay, next up is Agustin D'Alessandro from the Mathematics Department in the Faculty of Science. His topic is the irreducible veil representation. Please join me in welcoming. Agustin, the floor is yours.
Hello. I want to start by asking you to think just for 1 second, tiny second, a world where you can go to school and you don't have any math class at all. Amazing, right? Yeah. But now, I also want you to think about a world where you don't have computers, you don't have planes, or maybe, I don't know, your bank accounts are not safe enough. I want you to think about that because that is the world that we would get if we remove math from everywhere. Yeah. And I know it's hard to believe, but that's because math is actually there to make our lives easier. Yeah. And that is because math is the one behind all the fancy technology that we use every day to make it possible. And when we study math, we want the same thing. We want the structures that we study to be as simple as possible. So for instance, when we deal with groups, which can be very abstract, we match them with something that is very familiar to us, even to freshmen, which are the matrices. And that matching is what we call a representation. And we can even go further, because those already simplify things, but we can do better. We can take what are called the reducible representations. And we know by theory that they exist, but finding them, that is the challenge. And you can think of the irreducible representations as you can see behind me, where the whole representation is the big object in the middle, and you can start splitting it apart into tiny pieces until you can't go any longer. Those are the reproducible representations. Or you can also think about the representation being a whole Lego set, where the tiny bricks are the reproducible ones, and you can study them because they are simple enough. And then you can glue them up together to study the whole object all at once. So in my research, I'm focusing on finding the reducible representations on one called the Baily representation, which is based in a group inside a bigger one called the symplectic group, which is very often used in physics, and even the Baily representation has been used in number theory, which is the one that we use in cryptography and cybersecurity. So if I manage to find these irreducible representations, I will be simplifying the study of these objects and making the work of all these people in different fields much more easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So, back to a word cloud. And what is one of the ways that math impacts your daily life? So, we heard a few examples, I would say, in this talk. Interested to see if others have thought of some other ones that they may put math down, how it impacts your life. Yeah, fun. See, I like fun. Tipping is a fascinating one. Yes, I have a tough time with that's why I round up 20%. That's easier than say 12%. Increased stress, yeah, I understand that. Banking, we have banking as a top. I would say banking all the time. When I'm happy, I have tears. I was going to say, I haven't seen fear yet, but there's definitely tears there. Oh, there's pie up there. For those of you who ever want to come to the university during Pi Day, there's a math event that happens. When is Pi Day, please, again? March 14th. Thank you. March 14th. Come to the campus for Pi Day. You will have pie. We have lots of pie up there. Well, it looks like banking is going to win these. Definitely banking. And taxes. Oh, it's tax season, right? How many of you filled out your tax? I like to see that fun still hanging in there. Math and fun. Oh, there's the, no, here is still down low. How are you? We're good? We're good. All right. Now we have Angele Poirier from the Johnson Schweimer Graduate School of Public Policy. Her topic is Governance for Resilient Food Systems in Saskatchewan. Please join me in welcoming. The floor is yours.
Iris lived in a care home in Winnipeg until 2019 when she died of salmonella after eating a pastry. Today, pastries are again linked to 1,600 salmonella cases in care homes and hospitals. In both instances, the culprit was imported frozen pastries. Now, Canada does inspect imported foods, but the rules are less stringent for frozen foods. We are importing foodborne foodborne illnesses, one of the many threats confronting our food system. Another threat is tariffs. We're facing 100% Chinese tariffs on some foods and 25% US tariffs on all foods. Saskatchewan could lose $7 billion in food exports, nearly 10% of our province's GDP. Rules and practices, in a word, governance, is what got us into this trade war. And governance can get us out. Just like governance is the only way to keep from serving deadly foods to our loved ones. The purpose of my research is to answer the following question. Which governance arrangements lead to which food system outcomes? What's fascinating is each food system has a unique set of governance arrangements leading to unique outcomes, but this link is not well understood. So, by performing comparative case studies, I'll analyze governance documents and interview food system actors to understand how governance, that is, rules and practices, are leading to particular food system outcomes, both good and bad. I'll then interpret this data through a systems framework which predicts that the best outcomes are achieved when governance institutions are local and small. That's why my case studies will include British Columbia and Quebec, whose food systems contain a lot of small, local institutions. Understanding food system governance is critical and timely. People are dying of imported foodborne illnesses, and food is being weaponized in a trade war. My research will have impact by protecting our loved ones from foodborne illness and death. And my work will remind our leaders that safe and reliable food is a human right, not a weapon to be used in a trade war.
Thank you. So back to the multiple choice question. So here we have, which of the following is not a major threat to food systems in Canada? I'm imagining movies now where I'm combining like farming movies with the Terminator. Finding fascinating things. So I think that you're pretty solid on that. One thing I'll ask, I'm trying to scan, it's hard in the darkness. So I teach a food microbiology class this term, and I told my students to come to this event tonight. Now I'm thinking I have some exam questions on that exam. So I'm hoping there might be one or two of those food micro students out there. I also now am learning that I need to have Angele come to one of my classes so she can provide a good lecture in my food micro class. Good. Okay, thank you. Please welcome our next presenter, Laura Schnell from the Biology Department in the Faculty of Science. Her topic is gene signals, catching toxic algae early. Please join me in welcoming Laura. Laura, the floor is yours.
Do you want to swim in that? Raise your hand if you would. How about during day? If you've spent much time around Saskatchewan lakes or ponds in the summer, you have seen this before. This is a population of blue-green algae, also known as a bloom. And these are harmful because they can produce toxins of the liver and the brain that are harmful in doses small enough to fit into a sip of water. But here's the problem. Not all of these algae can produce these toxins, even in the same species, the same population at the same time. And that is tricky because it means we can't effectively risk assess the water. So what do we do? Current testing methods focus on measuring the amount of toxin in the water, but these tests can lack sensitivity and they only provide a snapshot in time. A bloom could start producing toxins a day or a week after a test has been taken, and this leaves people and animals at risk. Also, once toxins build up in the environment, it can take 2 weeks for water to return to safe levels, even with algal treatments. That's 2 weeks if you're a family where you might feel unsafe going to the lake to swim. Or 2 weeks if you're a farmer where you might have to source different water for your livestock or remove them from the area completely. Now imagine you're at a lake or a farm pond and you have a test similar to a COVID or a pregnancy test. We can tell you right away if the algae are able to produce toxins. That's what my research is aiming to create. My research is designing a test that targets the toxin-producing genes of blue-green algae. The genes of an algae are like a master list of all the different functions that algae can perform. And by targeting the toxin gene, we're able to predict how harmful a bloom is before it becomes dangerous. That would mean less uncertainty when going to the lake, or if you're a farmer, less cost and stress about your livestock. Ultimately, by catching toxic algal blooms early, we can keep our water, our animals, and ourselves safe. Thank you.
Thank you all. So, another word cloud one here. I think I messed it up. I'm trying to break maybe, because you've got 2 questions here, really. So we can go yes or no. But it's more, what we're more interested in is, I'm not a psychologist, but we have psychologists in the audience. Oh, yes. Okay, this is a different one for us. Like I said, I practice something called just-in-time teaching. This is called just-in-time MCing. So, yeah, okay. Next time I think we'll try a word cloud on this to talk about our feelings. But I would say pretty accurate here, devastating. And now please welcome Baily from the Faculty of Social Work. Her topic is Journey to Anti-Racist Education. Please join me in welcoming Baily. Baily, the floor is yours.
I want you to look at the screen beside me. You will see a variety of different languages for the word hello. Now, imagine having to learn a new language in a new country. Now, this is the issue some of the thousands of children who come to Canada every year face. And schools play an integral role in the immigration process because it's the first place where our newcomer children learn French or English. But more than that, it's where they build their first connections and friendships in Canada and also start to learn Canadian culture and norms. But for many students, schools are also a place where they experience racism. and they may be marginalized due to their language, culture, or religion. And this can have detrimental effects, including mental health concerns, social isolation, and even cause some students to drop out. And this is a big problem. This is why my research looks at how we can create an anti-racist education system here in Canada. For my research, I interviewed teachers about their experience and insights as they teach newcomer students. And I break my research down into 2 levels where teachers have direct impact. On the first level, I look at teachers' understanding of anti-racist education. And this is important because as classrooms in Canada become increasingly diverse, a majority of Canadian teachers actually look a lot more like me. So many teachers have never experienced racial discrimination themselves. So I want to understand what knowledge, skills, and training teachers need to feel confident navigating difficult discussions about race and implementing anti-racist approaches in the classroom. On the second level, I look at school climate, and this measures students' sense of belonging and safety in their school. Because students who feel a strong sense of belonging and safety ultimately have higher academic achievement. So it's important that schools provide the resources and supports for students to feel represented and seen within their school. Ultimately, my research can lead to future implementation of anti-racist education here in Canada, because it gives current insight into the current understandings of anti-racist education, as well as what training, skills, and supports are needed to enhance it. And building a system where students feel safe, seen, and heard is imperative, because ultimately schools play an integral role in creating the values and perspectives of our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Back to my comfort zone here with multiple choices. So if you could, what percentage of Canadian population do you think is made up of immigrant population? Now it's like a race. This is more interesting. Of course, you're not supposed to Google the right answer. So stick to just your mentee. Looks like we've got some stability in the system now. And the answer is, well, I guess you want me to tell you. The answer is 23%. For those of you who got it right, you get sauce. We're good to go. Okay. And now, our last competitor of the evening, Dinusha Ranasinghe, who studies environmental systems within the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science. Her topic is the invisible bond in soil. Dinusha, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Let's go back to your childhood. Have you ever built sandcastles on the beach? Anyone? I'm pretty sure most of you have this nice experience. What happened when you use dry sand to build your sandcastle? It just slipped through your fingers, right? If you had too much water to it, still you couldn't build a strong sandcastle. Normally it collapsed like this. But if you had the right amount of water, you could build a strong and a beautiful sandcastle. So, what is this invisible bond? It is not the water. This invisible bond is called the suction. The suction increased the soil strength. So, why is this actually important? In the real world, landslides, building collapses often happen where this invisible bond called suction fails. For example, during heavy rainfalls, water seeps into the soil, reduces this bond, and leads to landslides. According to statistics, landslides cause around 4,000 deaths annually. So, in my research, I investigated about this effect. I tested soil samples from arid badlands in Saskatchewan, and I conducted a series of laboratory experiments, changing the water content and the applied load on the soil. So, using those test results and some of the previous published data, I could identify a clear relationship between this invisible bond suction, the water content of the soil, with the soil strength. By understanding these relationships, we can help to design early warning systems for landslides and strong foundations for buildings. So this research is not just about science. It is all about saving lives and protecting communities. So next time, when you see a sand castle, remember, it is more than just a kid's play. It is a lesson how this invisible bond in soil holds our world together.
Thank you, Denise. So our final question of the evening. What is the invisible bond in soil that helps hold sandcastles and buildings together? I think this is the same thing that's pulling my house apart. How many of you appreciate the clay soil that we have in Regina? Trying to close the doors of your house. Yeah, I think that we have the clear winner there, so that's great. And so, while our judges are finishing up on this last, their notes for the last competitor, please join me in thanking all of the 3MT presenters. So as the judges are finishing up, they will essentially grab their notes and make their way backstage to score each of the contestants and to deliberate on their rankings. When they come back, we will know who won tonight's event and who will be heading to the Western Regionals this year at the University of Saskatchewan. The winner from that event will then go on to the National 3MT competition. So the judges will move off, and I think we'll have a slide coming up next, which will talk about your rankings for the People's Choice Award. So hopefully you picked up your program, your ballot. So hopefully you all have a ballot. And I believe that once you've made your choice, you can simply pass your ballots to the end of the row, and the staff will be collecting them and then counting the numbers. While we're collecting the People's Choice ballots, please fill out your People's Choice Award, and then you can pass them down either side of the aisles, and the staff will come down and grab your so that we don't have to try to gather you all back for the announcement of the winners. So the judges, they may take about 15 minutes or so to do their deliberations. And so now, I'd like to call up 3 of our past winners. And so this is Kwaku Ayesi, Andy McClellan, and Michael Mensa, who were up here talking before, so if they're all mic'd up, I'd like them to come out here and join me on the stage here. I think they're getting mic'd up. So, as Vice President Research, I always enjoy interacting and talking to our graduate students. And in this particular case, I'm very, proud and honored to be able to talk to these 3 individuals who represent the change of when we moved the 3MT to Dark Hall, actually. So I think it was Andy, were you the first round of competitors here at the 3 in the Dark Hall? Yeah, and then Kwaku, you would have been the year after?
No, I was the year before, so I was before it moved to Dark Hall, right before.
Okay, great. And then Michael, of course, was last year.
Yeah, last year.
Okay, so wonderful to have you all up here. So my first question I'm going to ask you all, and so I'd like each of you to respond, would be, so you saw them up here tonight, they're giving their talks. I saw you 3 down there, sitting, relaxing, having the time of your life. So tell me, how did it feel to be down there versus up here? And did you have any memories or flashbacks? Maybe let's start with Kwaku first, because it's the most distant.
Well, I still felt nervous. Honestly, even though the pressure is not on me or anything, the nostalgia came back and I still felt nervous because I was putting myself in the shoes of the contestants here. And it's exciting to be able to watch and listen to all that different research, but yeah, I still feel a bit nervous.
It's good empathy. So, Andy.
I completely agree. I think the nerves are there. There's that association with Dark Hall, so you walk in and see the lights, and it's actually fun being back up here and seeing it from the stage, because you remember, just like the nerves and the experience. But I will say, coming in and being able to eat food and have coffee is a lot better than being in the back. Over and over again. But yeah, that same excitement and adrenaline is there.
Great. Michael, it would be very fresh in your mind, I guess.
I would say I didn't quite feel it, so I got a tap that we should move up here. I was just seated enjoying the wonderful presentations that our contenders gave, and I enjoyed it, and I only really felt the nerves when we had to move up here.
So now I want to talk a bit maybe about what happens to each of you after the Regina event, right? Because then of course there's the restrooms and things like that. So maybe, again, I'll ask each of you sort of to share your thoughts around that and kind of what were the highlights, I'd say. So maybe, again, we'll start with Kwaku.
So, for me, 3MT was in very many ways life-changing in terms of the networking that I got to network with other students, both in Regina and when I went to regionals. And just
maybe you can tell us which city was it?
So I went to Winnipeg. Yes, so I met with, I think, 16 or 17 other students from all over Western Canada. And just getting to meet new or other researchers talking about what they're doing and competing on the Western regional stage as well was an awesome experience for me. And I got to learn a lot from other fields, but it also opened so many doors for me, given that opportunity.
Thanks. Andy?
Yeah, it is a cool experience being able to go through after you win. You get to work with some people at the U of R to really critique or refine your presentation. And for me, I got to go just up the road actually to Saskatoon. So I didn't get to fly across the country like some people do, which is cool. Sorry. But I'll echo Kwaku's what he's saying too, in that it makes you think about your research in a different way. Like going through the process of breaking it down, thinking about how to communicate it to anybody who you can talk to, right? Your parents, a community member, your colleagues. And it gave me a real appreciation for the work that I've been doing. It makes me think about my research problems in a different way. And yeah, just hearing all the other impressive research and communication styles from other competitors in Western Canada.
Okay. Michael, you had the distinct pleasure of traveling internationally. Maybe you could highlight a bit, what is it like to go from, the national competition then to an international stage, right? And maybe share a bit of that and where you went down, where was that international competition? And how did you feel the differences were?
Okay. So starting, personally, it felt very satisfying that aside of myself and my supervisor, many other people thought what I was working on was important, so that felt very satisfying. It was a beautiful opportunity to, again, network and hear about amazing works that other grad students are also working on. It was a lot of opportunities to travel. As Chris put it, I traveled to Kelowna, where we had a Western regional event, and had colleagues down there that I hadn't met for about 6 years, so it was quite refreshing catching up with them again. For the national event, traveling to Toronto, it was beautiful. Obviously, going to Toronto is always exciting, aside from the hassle of bustling on there. Again, having the opportunity to compete with colleagues in North American event, there was one event that I always described as one that was very closely contested. 8 students from the US, 2 from Canada, and 2 from Mexico. 2 of us competed, and ultimately it was a very pleasant experience over there. In all of this, again, as I put it, it felt very satisfying how my research was well received, and again, I went on to re-emphasize the importance of what we are doing here and the kind of impact our research is making on the world around us.
Great. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna, again, just in time emceeing. I won't put you on the spot yet, but if anyone in the audience has a question, you can sort of just shout it out. I'll repeat it through the mic. But if anyone has a question, feel free to shoot your arm up, and we can have a bit of audience engagement around this sort of round table. While you're thinking of that, what I will do though is I'm going to move away a bit from the 3MT, but I'm going to talk about grad studies research in general. And I'm really old, but I can still remember my PhD program and the fact that essentially I faced every day, 99% of the time, I could say I failed. I could walk in and I'd be like, I'd open up an incubator, I'd look at these plates and I'd be like, that was a failure. And then remarkably enough, the next day I would come into the lab, I'd have coffee or whatever, and I'd open up the incubator and I'd look at them, and I'd open up and I'd look at the plates, and I could say to myself, that was a failure. And I do that for months. And so my question to all of you is, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that feeling? Graduate studies is this interesting thing. You have to be intellectually stimulated, you're curious, you're driven, and at the same time, you have to be persistent because you face so many, sort of failures in the pursuit of discovering new knowledge. So how do you all navigate that? So I'll just open it up. Feel free for one person to start, but we'll go through the whole three of you.
Well, I'm a student of psychology, and so I do a lot of self-therapy, I think, that I found. But no, I'll actually, it's a quote I found recently where it says that, the process to get up to PhD is not about getting, a dissertation or to achieve the PhD, but it's about who you become in the process, and I think that speaks to a lot of the resilience, right, of being able to be willing to try, to be fearless in being able to fail, and to be able to think of what the solution is and how to work around problems. I think that's a big piece about being a graduate student going through this process is being okay to take a leap of faith and knowing that you're going to fall, but without having all the supports around you and stuff too makes it a little bit easier.
For me, a particularly humbling part of the journey for me is getting a lot of feedback that has to do with completely changing a draft that has been sent. But I quickly realized that it's part of the process, and that I could, you could spend hours getting information, data, synthesizing it, writing so many paragraphs, and the red in your papers would be so much that you wonder whether you're in the right place. But it's part of the process. It taught me to understand how even papers will go through a peer review process, and some of the critique that will come with it. And so it's been a humbling experience, also understanding that in particularly public policy, which is my department, there may be different ways of seeing or analyzing a particular issue. And so it's opened my mind to listen to different points of view, to different worldviews, and understand what it is to be a good quality researcher.
So if I understood the question, you want us to share experience on how we handle all that's happening around us, aside from research?
Well, more just, often we make a hypothesis, we come up with it, and we do some experiments, and it doesn't work.
Right.
You're a field-based researcher. How many times did you have to go out there and, it's not the way you expected it, right? You get hail or something, right? How do you keep going?
Yeah, how do I keep going? I would say that I haven't always had the answers, but I've got a really good support system. I have an amazing supervisor who is almost always available to talk to. So when I am facing some of these challenges, she's a good resource to fall on. And also where I have, lack thoughts on as to how to handle things. I know one of the things that came up when this experience started was, having to respond to lots of emails, including, committing time to making sure that the important things are getting done. And, a piece of advice that, she doesn't check her emails in the mornings and, gets all the important stuff done and then checks it later in the day when, the brain is feeling, a little bit of needing some rest out away from the screen. So that was something that I found useful and, tried to do that. So, I've been able to make the most of the limited time that I have. Also talking of field studies and all of that, polling, lab analysis and all of that. And then again, having amazing lab colleagues that have assisted with all of these. So it's been all centered on having a really good support system, I would say, and finding the right people to follow to where I need to.
Great. Okay, thanks. Any questions out here? Oh, not seeing any. Oh wait, yes, there is.
Yeah, so my question for all of you is, what was your greatest why in getting involved in the 3NT?
Sorry, could you just read it a bit louder?
Absolutely. So my question is for all of you, what was your greatest why in becoming involved with the 3NT?
Actually, go fast. Okay. Yeah, I was just excited about the idea of being able to distill my research and communicate it to a general audience in 3 minutes. I was excited about the idea of the opportunity that 3NT gives in making my research more visible. So I would say, that's what really got me into it in the first place.
For me, it is, now I know everybody considers peer research important, but I considered what I was researching and what I wanted to highlight as incredibly important, that I would be doing a disservice if I didn't take the opportunity to talk about it on such a platform. And so I was speaking about the overrepresentation of Indigenous children in Canada's child welfare system. And so I had just come across, coincidentally, Chief Carlos DeLorme is here today. I had come across the work that he had done with Cowessess First Nation. And so it was a good opportunity for me to both highlight the problem that existed, but also the wonderful, innovative policy that Chief Carlos DeLorme and the people of Cowessess had created to try and retake control over their children. So that was inspirational enough and motivating enough for me to take advantage of the 3MT stage to talk about it.
Yeah, for me, I remember being an undergrad and coming to an event when I was in Calgary, the 3MT event, thinking, wow, I hope I can do that someday. And when I got the opportunity to present my work at 3MT, it was kind of a dream come true, right? And being able to live in the shoes of my past self and what I wanted to do. And again, just to echo points from these two guys, I think a big piece of what we're trying to do in research, especially more recent with knowledge dissemination, is to connect with people. And I think this is a really special way to do that, because we're not just talking about research, but we're trying to find a connection, right? A way to grasp attention, a way to communicate something that is complex, and sometimes, we find it super interesting. A lot of people might not find it as interesting unless we can find a way in to connect with you. And sometimes that's on an emotional level, sometimes that's by talking within a narrative and a story. And so I think being able to do it in this fashion is a way for us to connect, and it's a way for us to push forward the science in our different ways, in our different fields, to be able to make those impacts. There have been talks today about trying to influence policy, right? We talk about sometimes these different pillars of academia and government, and policymakers, clinical work, or different realms, and sometimes we're trying to find those bridges. And I think sometimes being able to do things like this, right, to find those connections is the way forward to make meaningful change. So it's just one way of doing that, and for me, it's been an honor to be able to be a part of it.
Great. Thank you for a question from the audience. So the judges are working their way through, so I've got one question left for you, and then we're going to bring out a couple more speakers, and then by that time the judges will be complete. But my last question, as I look out into the audience and I see prospective graduate students, I see new graduate students, I also see new graduate supervisors, I see families. So my question, and it sort of came up already in conversation, but to a future graduate student, what advice would you have in terms of them selecting a supervisor? And so for the supervisors out there, take some notes.
All right. What to look for in selecting a supervisor? Okay, I would say that you definitely need to have some conversations going, right? Have conversations going, understand their style of mentoring, and it is always great when supervisors are flexible to tailor their style of mentoring to suit what a student finds useful to them. So definitely if you find someone who is willing to do that, definitely that would be a great supervisor. And just find supervisors that are really interested in investing in their students also, like, investing their time, their talents and experience, and just helping you to become the scientist or industry person that you are hoping to be. So, and I would say these are qualities that I found in my supervisor. So, if you're a grad student if you're a potential grad student, make sure that you are having conversations with the potential supervisor and understanding their way of mentoring their students. And hopefully they have some of these traits that might be beneficial
thank you.
I would say do a lot of research first into the background of the person that you potentially want to work with as a supervisor. But also, if you can, talk to other students that the supervisor has supervised. Because you will learn a bit about what expectations are, the style of supervision. Michael talked about mentoring, because there could be different styles of mentoring, some which might be a good fit, some which might not. And be open to having those discussions at the initial stages with the supervisor, talking about what your individual and collective goals are for the end of your program. But I think a big part, if you can, do extensive research, ask questions about the potential supervisor from other students to help inform your decision.
Thank you. Thank you, quick.
Yeah, really good point. We're going through our applications right now, and we have students who reached out to all of us, like graduate students in our lab, just to get our take on what the experience is like working with our supervisor in our lab, in our program. So yeah, getting as much information as you possibly can, I think, is vital in that regard, because you know whether it's your program research you're trying to build or what it is, there's lots of uncertainties, and so trying to find some concrete evidence in terms of what can give you confidence in going into a lab is important. And also, you're going to be with the supervisor perhaps for 8 years, depending on how long you're in PhD for. And so you got to know that you get along with the person, that your energies match, right, to some regard as well. And so, yeah, just doing as much work as you can, I think.
What I think I've heard in common themes is communication and cyberstalking. So. All right, I will ask us all to join. Thank our panelists, please. Now, while the judges are finishing up their deliberations, I'll ask the panelists to unmic, maybe take a stool with you for free. Your party gift, a stool. So what we'll do next is we're going to have a few more. So we've got a showcase, we kind of call this a showcase, of other 3MT events and presenters. So we've got 3 more 3-minute theses that are going to come up. And so they're up there on the list there. MAP, for those of you who don't know what that acronym is, that's Media, Art, and Performance. Like fading. I am fading up here. So that's our Faculty of Media, Art, and Performance. And so I'm going to ask Sarah McCreary first to please come to the stage. Last fall, 2024, it'll take her a couple of minutes because she's got to get mic'd up. So last fall, she's doing that. Last fall, 2024, MAP hosted a 3MT competition for their students. And so Sarah McCreary is joining us tonight to share her winning presentation that would have taken place within the faculty of MAP. So while she's getting mic'd up, and then we'll while they're all getting mic'd up, hopefully there'll be 2 others. And then from there, we'll move on to announcing the 3MT winners. So thank you. Please join me in welcoming Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Konshiki, everyone. I'm really glad to be here to be part of the showcase. Very fortunate, I actually got to bring my notes. I'm an urban Métis descending from Boggy Creek in Red River, Manitoba. I researched traditional textiles and methods to help me create artistic Métis regalia. I use methodologies like oral tradition, adaptation, and metissage. My practice is actually a precursor, blending the past with the present. Essentially, I'm participating in the evolution of Métis cultural identity through artistic innovation. I wonder about the future of my culture. Historically, we're known as the flower beadwork people. My mentor, Sherry Farrell-Rissette, spoke of how our people literally wear our culture on our backs, an element that I do bring into my practice. Traditionally, the Hudson Bay blanket is used for making an oversized jacket called a coat. I'm not like my grandpa, a trapper who needed a traditional capote. But I do trek from the parking lot on campus with art supplies and a laptop. And so from this comparison, past to now, inspired a tailored capote pattern. Also, you'll see there, a Métis never stuck, Olivia Bercier. That was my grandmother, something that she told me often, and something that I carry with me today. So what I did is I slimmed the sleeves and removed the hood and belt, giving enough remaining blanket to make a knapsack. Because it is tailored, parts of the jacket and knapsack can easily be repaired or swapped with an aesthetic upgrade, naturally extending the life cycle of the piece. By doing this, the traditional function of the Hudson Bay blanket has evolved. Note that this design is an adaptation that is circumstantial. This process actually emerged from conversations with my program supervisor, David Garneau. Those conversations affirmed that our culture evolves from traditional knowledge sharing. It's guidance to think critically about how I navigate my practice. Both oral tradition and hands-on practices are essential for passing down cultural knowledge. My practice is Métis identity, métissage, and adaptation. Methodologies that respect our past and ensure that our ways of knowing and doing remain relevant and adaptable. By questioning the boundaries of Métis culture, I'm contributing to the collective efforts of Métis artists in our community, reflecting the resilience and adaptability of our nation. Marseille, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, we'll be hearing from someone who may be familiar to you from tonight, and this is Angele Poirier, who this past Saturday, the Canadian Research Centre on Francophonies in Minority Settings at La Cité Université, which again, the University of Regina is very proud to be able to help support the Francophone communities, along with its partners Afras SAS and the University of Saskatchewan, held I'm not going to do it in French. The 3 Minute Thesis in French. The provincial winner was Angele Poirier, who gave us her winning presentation, so she'll give the winning presentation in French. So, the floor is yours.
Iris vivait dans une maison de retraite à Winnipeg jusqu'en 2019, quand elle est décédée de la salmonelle à cause d'une pâtisserie. Aujourd'hui, les pâtisseries sont à nouveau liées à 1600 cas de la salmonelle dans les maisons de retraite et les hôpitaux. Dans les deux instances, il s'agissait de pâtisseries surgelées importées. Certes, le Canada inspecte les aliments importés, mais les règles sont moins strictes pour les aliments surgelés. Nous importons des intoxications alimentaires, l'une des nombreuses menaces qui pèsent sur notre système alimentaire. Une autre menace, c'est les tarifs douaniers. La Chine nous impose 100% sur certains aliments et on s'attend à 25% des États-Unis sur tous les aliments. La Saskatchewan pourrait perdre 7 milliards de dollars en exportations alimentaires, soit près de 10% de notre PIB. Ce sont les règles et les pratiques, autrement dit la gouvernance, qui nous ont entraînés dans cette guerre commerciale. Et c'est la gouvernance qui peut nous en sortir. Tout comme la gouvernance, c'est le seul moyen d'empêcher de servir des aliments mortels à nos proches. Ma recherche répondra à la question suivante. Quelle sorte de gouvernance conduit à quel résultat pour le système alimentaire? Chaque système alimentaire a une gouvernance unique qui conduit à des résultats uniques, mais ce lien n'est pas bien compris. Donc, à travers des études de cas, j'examinerai des documents de gouvernance et j'interrogerai des acteurs du système alimentaire pour comprendre comment la gouvernance, c'est-à-dire les règles et les pratiques, conduit à certains résultats, bons et mauvais. J'interpréterai ces données à travers un cadre qui prédit que les meilleurs résultats sont obtenus lorsque les institutions de gouvernance sont locales et de petite taille. C'est pourquoi mes études de cas porteront sur la Colombie-Britannique et le Québec, dont les systèmes alimentaires comptent de nombreuses petites institutions locales. Ma recherche protégera les gens comme Iris et nos propres familles de tomber malades ou pire après leur repas. Et ma recherche rappellera à nos leaders qu'une alimentation sûre et fiable est un droit humain et non une arme dans une guerre commerciale.
Our last of the showcase will be Shay Carr. So Shay Carr, can you please come to the stage? In January, the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research hosted a storytelling competition where the competitors also entered the National Church Storytellers Competition. This year, our University of Regina student will be advancing to the Church Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council Storytellers Finalist Stage. Please join me in welcoming Shay.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Shaylin Carr and I'm a PhD student in psychology here at the University of Regina. Last year, when I started my PhD studies, I was incredibly fortunate to receive SSHRC funding, the national funding, in my area, and as part of that, I was eligible to create a storyteller video, where essentially you get to tell a story about your research, why it matters, how you're doing it, the impact that it can have. And this year, I pushed myself to actually do it. And the title of that was Innocent Until Proven Guilty, or Guilty Until Believed. And with this, I really wanted to tell the story of my dissertation, which is essentially trying to find a new way where we can distinguish when a suspect or an alibi in the criminal justice system is lying to us or telling the truth. As Chris Yost mentioned, I was extremely fortunate to receive the FGSR internal SSHRC Storyteller Award, and then I recently found out that I was actually a national finalist as well. Within this email that they sent to me, they also told me that I was the first recipient from the University of Regina to ever receive that, so that was also video. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to FGSR and the University of Regina, and a huge shout out to Krista Belico, who helped me with my final one before I submitted it to nationals. So without further ado, here's my SSHRC storyteller.
Edward Honecker was convicted of 7 counts of sexual assault, sodomy, and rape. Throughout his trial, he told the police, "I didn't do it," but they didn't believe him. Edward had provided 4 alibis. 2 family members, 1 friend, and 1 acquaintance all said that Edward didn't do it because he was with us. Despite this, the police, the judge, and the jury didn't believe them. And Edward was sentenced to 3 life terms in prison, where he sat pleading, "I didn't do it," for 10 years, until DNA evidence exonerated him. Sadly, this case is not unique. Of 250 proven wrongful convictions, over 70% have an alibi. Someone to say that they didn't do it, but yet they're not believed. And the question is, why? And the answer is that in our justice system, there's no clear way to evaluate whether a suspect or an alibi is telling the truth or telling a lie. And coming up with a way is exactly the goal of my PhD dissertation. We can rely on physiological changes like sweating and behavioral changes like having your arms crossed to indicate when someone is lying. But in the justice system, often these things can be brought on from stress from the environment, so they've been found to be pretty unreliable. Instead, all we have to go off of is what that person actually tells us. So I've created a lab-based experiment where pairs of participants are randomly split into either a truth group or a lie group. For those in the truth group, these participants will complete a series of tasks together. And for the lie group, these participants will be separated and will be unaware of each other's tasks. One of these participants will be asked to engage in a sneaky task. After the tasks, one participant in each group will be accused of engaging in the sneaky task, regardless of if they actually did, and they'll become the suspect, while the other will be their alibi. The group will collaborate on a story proving they were together even if they weren't. Then, each participant will write their own individual narrative. From here, I'll calculate the proportion of details that can be confirmed to be true, like we walked by the library at 3:30 p.m., and compare these to the proportion of details that can't be confirmed, like we worked in my dorm room. The idea is that those that are telling the truth will have more of those confirmable details, and I'll be able to compare these proportions between suspects and alibis and truth tellers and liars, to really see if we can use the proportion of confirmable details to indicate whether a suspect or an alibi is telling the truth or telling a lie. Maybe if a tool like this is actually used, cases like Edward Honecker's, where 4 alibis are provided but dismissed, won't happen again.
Please join me in thanking Angele and Sarah for sharing their research with us tonight. I was getting nervous as I was seeing that click down. I'm like, what am I going to do with this dead air time? So, there won't be dead air time because the judges are finished their deliberations. So, what that means is now the moment you've been patiently waiting for has arrived. We will now announce the 3MT winners. The People's Choice Award will go home with $500, and the third place 3MT finalist will also go home with $500. Second place winner will take home $1,000. And tonight, I feel like I'm a game show host. And tonight's U of R 3MT winner will receive $1,500. So, Elise, if you could please join me on the stage to present the certificates, as well as Marcel Ducasse, Director of Publications for the University of Regina Press, who will be providing our winners with a gift bag from the press for their efforts tonight. How many of you want to guess there's books in the gift bag? Please join me. That wasn't it. Okay, so it's like a tapping award. Okay. All right. So you got the people ready to present the bag here. Okay. Okay. In third place, and the winner of the People's Choice Award, Elise Melanson. Don't go too far away either, because there's a group photo after. Don't go back. Okay, thank you, Elise. Yeah, I think we'll do group photos after. And in second place, Angele Poirier.
Oh, thank you very much. I worked my butt off.
Thank you, Angele. And now for our first place winner, Baily hat. Congratulations, Baily. time MC, Chris Jost, to give closing remarks. I am the last person you have to hear from before you can, go out and socialize with your friends. So my closing remarks are going to be extremely brief, maybe less than 3 minutes. Maybe I'll set a new standard for the 1 minute closing remark. My 1 minute closing remarks will be, I am incredibly proud of these students. I am incredibly proud of the supervisors who do it. I'm incredibly proud to work at a university that devotes and is dedicated to research that will impact the lives of people in our society. A university that works for societal good, that also pushes boundaries of knowledge, is daring in their discoveries, pushes things and then takes and knowledge, translates that into a way that will impact our communities and grow. I'm very thankful that all of you came out. I'm completely and grateful to the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research, the University of Advancement and Communications, to all of the team that put this together. It couldn't have happened. It was a great and wonderful event tonight. Thank you to the judges for giving your time. And thank you to the UR Press for providing swag bags. And lastly, I will just say again, please tell your friends about this evening. I hope you had a wonderful night. I hope you learned something. I hope you bring friends back with you from the community next year. And those of you who are looking for free socks, please seek me out. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. For the winners, for all of the competitors, could I make sure all the competitors are here for some pictures? So if they could just come up where Trevor is, our excellent photographer. So you're off the hook. The puppets.